why do I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Why do I have 24 different tabs when I just started playing the game? There's so many games that like otherwise are good games and that just like layered with this bullshit. Now next we have got what I would say a good like 70 to 80% of the negative Steam reviews all seem to be complaining about, and that is the monetization of character customization as well as the expensive skins. To put it simply, they are selling very expensive cosmetic skins and a bunch of pilot customization as well. Now, I don't really care about this stuff on a personal level, but I do know that fans of mech games in particular, the customization is a good chunk of what they look forward to and what they enjoy doing. People just aren't happy about the fact that they have paywalled a bunch of this stuff and that it costs so much money. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I think the real issue here isn't just that they're selling cosmetics. Most free-to-play games do. It's actually very expected. That's probably the most benign way you can monetize a free-to-play game compared to the alternative ways of monetizing a free-to-play game. No, the problem here, I think, is that they're selling them for way more money than a lot of players right now are willing to swallow from a brand new game that they're not really invested in, let alone obsessed with. I mean, clearly, looking at the user review score, it is bad enough to prevent a lot of people from getting into the game in the first place. You really need to have an established fan base before you can milk that fan base, putting the cart before the horse and all of that, right? I think that's their main point of failure here. Get people really into your game, and then if you want to go down the route of crazy expensive skins, that's your opportunity. But you can't launch the game with crazy expensive skins and monetization before people even care about your game. There's a lot of competition out there. People are just gonna write it on and move on to playing something else. That's what you have to keep in mind, really. I'm not anti-developers making money, absolutely not. I will happily give them $60 to play this game, stripped of all the bullshit. If you want to also sell a seasonal pass with cosmetics, by all means. I won't engage with it, or I will if I really like your game. That's ultimately my take and thought on it anyways. But then beyond the cosmetic stuff, there's also the pay to win or pay for advantage side that the game has. And this stings the most for me personally, as it impacts the only mode that I really enjoy, that extraction mode. So basically, they've got this mod system in extraction mode specifically where you can equip upgrades for your mech. This lets you do things like adjust your boost rate, your efficiency, your targeting speed, your recovery time, your movement speed, etc. So these mods drop in the form of what is basically a loot box. Whenever you kill larger PvE enemies in the extraction mode, you're gonna get a mod box. They will come in different rarities. The higher the rarity, the stronger the potential stats on the item. So you open the box and you're presented with a random mod of that rarity. Or the other option is via this game's auction house, you can actually buy already opened mods directly from other players. So the TLDR here is that if you spend a bit of real money, you can purchase exactly the mods that you want or need for your build, rather than just relying on whatever random mods happen to drop that you get from opening boxes. You buy them from other players though, is how it works, because people get those mod boxes in game and then they sell them on the marketplace and you can buy them from them. Right here. So they sell the mod boxes, 20 cents each. You can buy weapons directly. These are 60 cents each, these twin rocket launchers. It's like $100 for $1. So like, this is $6, whatever this is. Now, keep in mind too, this marketplace, you're selling this to other players. This is all a player-driven marketplace. Players found these mods, opened them, received these, and then are selling them themselves. And they're gonna get that currency. And then they can use that currency to buy some of these cosmetic stuff, I guess. I don't know what else you can buy with Corites. I don't know if it's just cosmetic, because Corite is the real money thing. On top of that, in the auction house, you can purchase for real money from other players gliders that drastically increase your move speed, repair stations to heal your mech, recon beacons to mark important things on your map, decoy beacons to redirect enemy fire, and extraction beacons that let you extract wherever you want, rather than having to rely on the limited number of extraction points that are on the map directly. You can also buy airdrop items that let you do things like call in weapons, ammunition, and the cargo rocket beacons, which are probably the most contentious item of all. This is something you can pay for that lets you extract items extract without having to survive and successfully extract yourself in your mech. Basically, go into a game, you get some items, if there's something you really want and you want to make sure you don't lose it, you can call down this rocket, put your stuff in it, and then it ships it off safely. Even if you die, you'll keep those items. It's like a safe pocket, essentially, but one that you can pay real money for. But I don't know if this is true. Somebody said you can spend money to extract, like you can pay $50 to guarantee extraction. Which I am dead if that is true. This must be the thing that you can pay to extract money. Cargo rocket beacon. Summons a cargo rocket in Mash Mod. That's the name of the map that you do the extraction mode. To send resources back to base early, avoiding losses from failed extractions. So, how do I get a cargo rocket beacon? Monetization doesn't matter in the matchmaking / battlegrounds, just the extraction. Well, that's rather unfortunate for someone like me who is most interested in the extraction mode. So if you're telling me that the pay to win is in the extraction mode, that's a massive bummer for me. Now I should say, all of this stuff, everything that I just mentioned, can just be acquired by playing. As you play the game, you're sure you're going to be relying on the randomness of whatever drops you happen to get, but you can get all of this stuff. And then on top of that, as you continue to play, you can actually earn the premium currency yourself without spending real money by selling anything valuable that you got to other players. Now those players will have to, somewhere in the chain, someone has to have spent real money to purchase the thing that you're selling to get that money. But yes, that's how they're monetizing it. A player-driven auction house, sort of along the lines of what Throne and Liberty does for monetizing a lot of their power things. So yeah, just by playing the game without spending any real money yourself, you can get all of these things, or you can just get it from drops. It'll just take longer because of the randomness. But of course, as these games always work, you can get exactly everything you want much faster if you just start by swiping immediately and spending real money. Now, honestly, I'll say, after playing a ton of the extraction mode over the past couple of days, I've never felt at a disadvantage, like someone had came in and swiped their way to victory in a fight that I had against them. But from what I've been told, that's largely due to the fact that I'm in the early stage of the game. It doesn't surface until the higher tiers, because the extraction mode is broken into 3 different brackets. There is the normal bracket, which is all that I have played, where only anyone under a 2,000 gear score can enter. And then the hard bracket is anyone under 6,000 gear score. And then the best bracket, the extreme bracket, where all of the best highest rarity items drop. That mode has no limit to the gear score. So as you can imagine, the ideal pay-to-win scenario would be you go in, spend money on the premium currency, you buy all of the best, highest rarity mods to perfect your build, you buy better weapons and whatever else you want, you buy the airdrops, you buy the repair stations, you buy the redirect enemy fire stations, you equip yourself by swiping, kit out your character, go into the extreme mode, and right now you're probably actually just playing against other swipers, but eventually you might be playing against free-to-play players, and you'll have that advantage of the perfect setup that you can get without having to rely on randomness, without having to grind a bunch and sell stuff and hope to get enough currency to buy the exact things that you want. That's basically the scenario that they've set up in establishing how the loot works and how the player auction house works and how that ties into the paid for currency. And I will add here that all of this is only for the extraction mode. The other game modes, the 3 vs 3 deathmatch and the 6 vs 6 team-based objective mode, none of the mod things or these call-in airdrops, none of that stuff applies. You just pick a striker, they all have a default kit and stats, you play against other strikers all with default kits and stats. There's no tuning and paying for any sort of power in those modes. And basically what the developer has done is said the extraction mode, where there is pay to accelerate your advantage, that's not the main mode. They don't consider that the main mode. The main mode is the stuff without the pay to win. It's just, I'm sure there are people out there like me who personally, I don't really care about the team-based mode. I don't care about the deathmatch or the objective mode. The extraction mode is the one that I like. And for me, and anyone like me who prefers that, it is a bummer that people can pay to accelerate. And if I ever wanted to play an extreme, I most certainly would be at a disadvantage without swiping or without grinding excessively. That's, again, what the system they set up. And the last con is just the fact that I wish the game actually had more PvE content, because what little is here, which is basically just the first 20-minute tutorial, and then the extraction mode with all the enemies and the POIs, all of that is legitimately really fun. Like, they have some really engaging PvE content and enemy variety and bosses and events and all that stuff. If they fleshed it out more, I would honestly play the crap out of it. Like, if this was basically just like a mech version of Warframe with the gameplay system and combat that they have, I would probably be obsessed. like no exaggeration, honestly. So I just wish they had more PvE, simple as that. Okay, so to wrap it all up, the TLDR here is that I think this game is legitimately good and fun from a gameplay perspective. I've really specifically enjoyed this extraction mode, and I like all of the different strikers. They're really cool classes with great designs and varied playstyles that I've enjoyed the little I've seen so far, and I'm looking forward to trying on some more. But at the same time, as for the negatives, the onboarding is non-existent, the menus are overly bloated and convoluted, monetization right now tips into the over-the-top category, where a majority of these early negative reviews that currently have the game sitting at a mixed rating, that's where that comes from. And again, I'll reiterate, for a non-established IP, a brand new game, it's just too much money for many people to care enough. They just prefer to go play something else at this point. I'm also sad that the main mode that I enjoy, Extraction, players can swipe to get an advantage quicker than free-to-play players. And then I wish just in general that they had more of a PvE focus. If this game played exactly the same, but was just more like Warframe with way more PvE content and grinding for power and all that stuff, I would be thrilled. The 3v3 and 6v6 modes just really didn't click with me at all personally. But even with all those cons mentioned, given it's a free-to-play game, I think it's worth checking out if you have any interest in it, because yes, it's actually really fun to play. Like, hats off to the developers. They made a mech game that's really enjoyable. Unfortunately, at the same time though, I think the devs also have done themselves a disservice by monetizing it the way that they have, because the game that they built, it's legitimately enjoyable. My best case scenario would have been if it just cost $40 to $60, that it was a premium package, and maybe they sold a battle pass or whatever. And I think that if this game fails, a large part of the reason will be because they were too heavy-handed with the monetization right out the gate. You are a brand new free-to-play multiplayer game. Players have plenty of alternatives to choose from. You have to be appealing enough to pull them away from those existing titles. And there is something appealing here. As I've said, I really enjoy the gameplay, but if you want to sell $50 skins that you shove in people's face after the 20-minute tutorial, you need to earn that player base first. And judging by the current Steam reviews, looks like they've turned away a lot of players before they even had the chance to get hooked and become a fan of the product enough to not care about a $50 skin. And that's on them, ultimately. It's really a shame, because I've had a lot of fun playing this game. I just think that a lot of people are never going to try it because, again, they've been too heavy-handed with monetization. We'll see how everything shakes out, but those are my first impressions of Mecha Break. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the vid, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Pick your hero or villain. I'm not judging.
I am beyond my pitiful creator. I am beyond everyone.
Blue Sky, let's look at the past 5 years. It's pretty much over. It is at the lowest point it's been at since before the election. The sky's over? That's right. The sky is not blue anymore.
So I guess I'm having like an Izaya Orihara moment, because I have apparently set a chain of events in motion behind the scenes that have resulted in the entire collapse of the platform known as Blue Sky. Yeah, maybe I'm making it sound a little cooler than it really is, but I think you'll enjoy what we're about to take a look at in this video. So you may have seen this back on June 12th, either on my Twitter account or directly on my channel here. As I had said, I made a video about how Blue Sky's dying, and then as we both reacted to it, and now the entire Blue Sky subreddit is in damage control mode. Indeed, we could see a screenshot from the Blue Sky subreddit.
No, it didn't happen, guys.
Moderator making the title, Asmongold made a video about Blue Sky dying. We are aware, and we are removing posts by his fanboys. Have a nice day, mod teams. Block post. New comments cannot be posted. Wow. But things didn't end there. As a few days later, one of the top posts for the month on our Blue Sky was made. That post reading, Blue Sky is supposedly dying, but who's really behind the rumors? And they linked to an article.
Google Trends and graphs. That's who's behind it. There's a graphs and data. Yeah. I don't know why I'm out. You need a YouTube video for that?
Some website called BlueSkyHunter.com that really comes off like one of those AI slob article websites. But of course, all the Blue Sky users in the comments are like praising this article, and you may know
that's all of them actually. By the way, as you can see, there's 97 comments. That's everybody on the website.
Notice Smug Elena, the one and only, right there, and it turns out this is actually Smug Elena reacting to my video from earlier, the one I made about Blue Sky dying. So once again, these people are mad at the person reacting to my video, but they're not actually mad at me. Now, I think that's what happened with me and Elon with the PoE thing. Elon took away my check mark, but he didn't take away Quinn's. I remember this very clearly. Yep. It's such a hive mind. Like, they never want to like actually see anyone criticizing Blue Sky, and like these people are the quickest people to like ban anyone who has any sort of slightly dissenting opinion,
Of course.
and or any opinion that's critical of the platform at all, or that goes against the hive mind. So they probably don't even realize that these are reaction videos. They just see people criticizing them, and they're not watching the videos because again, they can't stand to see an opinion that's different from theirs. So they just like see the title scroll down and rage about it, and then they see like put in this article, and again, they're not like watching the videos. They're just like raging about the title.
Enjoy having such influence over stuff like this? I knew that making a video and talking about it, one of the worst things to do with a social media platform is to show that it's dying. Because as soon as you show that a social media platform is dying, then it actually starts dying. That's the next thing that happens. Because nobody wants to be on a social media platform that nobody's using and is losing users. So, in a way, I'm speaking it into existence by saying that it's dying. Or at least I'm making it happen fast. Somebody's got to take it out to the back of the barn. Why not be me?
And or thumbnails. But the reason this is like especially funny though is because my video was talking about posts on their own subreddit. I didn't just make up that Blue Sky's dying. I was literally talking about posts from their own subreddit where people were talking about
deactivated last week.
the analytics falling, like
Daily active users not a good sign.
how it's like not good for artists, how the artists are not
Responses are way down.
You know, a whole variety of stuff like that. And again, this is all from them. So I make a video about what they're saying, and then people react to it. And then they get all mad and act like it's not even like factual information or anything. They say that people are just like making this stuff up and clickbait. It's like, dude,
I mean, it's simple. I don't know why he doesn't understand. They're just stupid. They're just making up bullshit, and they're stupid because they're mad that they're getting called out for their thing that they like dying. That's the reason. That's the reason why.
Take a look at this top comment here.
Fucking duh.
To be honest, their It's Dying campaign was very obvious since it started very suddenly out of nowhere. If I was if it was genuinely dying, why would they care so much about it? They clearly don't.
Concord. Instant argument that invalidates this in a second.
Mind you,
What a stupid thing to say.
number of blocks all that matters. So I pay attention to a dead
What a
platform.
dumb thing
They
to
clearly want something. Hope this was just in the campaign to try scaremongering. What? Hope this was just a campaign to try scaremonger Blue Sky owners into selling or relaxing moderation.
Yep. They're gonna.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I make one video talking about posts on their own subreddit about how Blue Sky engagement's like falling, and they start coping, saying it's like a whole campaign against the website, and then they start talking about how the campaign, that's not even like a campaign, it's like something they're making up, is manufactured by MAGA.
Manufactured by MAGA. This is 171 updude-arinos. One day the red MAGA hat will be viewed about the same way that the Confederate flag and the swastika are viewed. Well, I mean, yeah, that's already true. I mean, Kanye West has all
The frick are you talking about? Manufactured by MAGA. That's their SOC. Bro,
This is all users?
I want to take one, like, I talked about some of the voice actor stuff, but I want to diverge from that for a day and talk about something else, and I saw Blue Sky stuff on the Blue Sky subreddit, make a video about that, and some of these people start saying it's manufactured by
Somebody in chat really brings up a great point. The fact that they're complaining about Blue Sky dying on Reddit really shows a lot about Blue Sky. If there were so many people on Blue Sky, wouldn't they just be talking about it on there?
It's like some, like, campaign to smear Blue Sky to try to get the owners to maybe sell it or something. Like, what the frick? Oh my gosh, dude. These people are so crazy. We'll take a look at some more crashing out from these people in the comments, and then we'll take a look at that slop article. That's also really funny. Look at this one. I hate how many grifters have infiltrated the VTuber space. VTubers.
Grifter is when people disagree with you.
Ultra-virus reinforcement.
Basically 70% MAGA in 2025.
The reason why a lot of VTubers are
30
making
seconds before you
content for
attack.
people that
Get
aren't
ready.
hyper liberals is because the majority of people that consume VTuber content are men, and a lot of guys don't have those viewpoints at all. And so, like, why would, if you know that you're, like, why do you think every VTuber model has huge tits? It's because they're making the content for men. And when you have a lot of men that have this viewpoint on the internet,
Starts in 5.
you know, you're going to have, obviously, a lot of them that are going to try to make content for that audience.
All you need to do is capture the mission area.
Because most of
Got it?
society is hyper liberal. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just, it's common sense.
People join Blue Sky get insta to block listed, and then want to cry because they get 0 engagement with people. They want to invite attacks, get big trolling people, and it's not working because we simply don't interact with them. Bro, the source for Blue Sky dying was you guys. What the heck? Grifters and rage baiters that are angry at moderation settings, they're the ones that are salty. I posted a few comments and posts after 2 weeks and got good engagement on all of them. Yeah, right, sure.
It's like 6 likes, probably.
The platform is active and rewards good transformative content and discourse. Anyone that says otherwise, it's useful to go through their internet habits with a fine-tooth comb. Or as you go through the user on your own
So
side.
anybody who disagrees with you needs to be investigated with their Reddit account, and then you're going to find out that they actually have other opinions that you disagree with, which means that they're wrong about everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%, guys.
Reddit. And you will find that they're all shady accounts with
People use
shady people
grifters wrong
behind them.
constantly? Yeah, it's the new Nazi.
It's like the Spider-Man thing now where they're like pointing at each other. If Blue Sky was really dying, then their right wing wouldn't even care. It's not dying. That's a huge load of crap. Don't trust Republicans. All they do is lie. So obviously, no, it's not some like MAGA campaign to criticize Blue Sky. It's ridiculous. But making it even more ridiculous is in the article by BlueSkyHunter.com, they actually talk about a post by the an article by the Washington Post. For those that don't know, the Washington Post is a left-leaning news outlet, and the Washington Post article was also criticizing Blue Sky. So, are they going to accuse Washington Post of like secretly being some like MAGA outlet now or something?
Yeah, of course they will. The people are delusional. Yeah, they're stupid.
But yeah, let's take a look at this slop article that the Blue Sky users over on Reddit seem to be really enjoying and propping up. It reads, Blue Sky is supposedly dying, but who's really behind the rumors? By that preview image we saw earlier. They say, if you spend any time on social media lately, especially Reddit or even Blue Sky itself, you've probably seen the posts. Blue Sky's dying. It's unusable for new users. It's become a left-wing echo chamber. But despite the doom and gloom, none of these claims hold much water when you actually look at the platform.
There it is. They don't like that. That graphic's racist, though? Oh, it's the white background.
This is real!
Yeah, right, bro. Cope more, dude. It's like the people that we were talking about in my video who are making posts on Blue Sky, trying to blame the analytics lowering, the statistics looking terrible for the platform on the weather. They're like, oh, it's just because the weather's good. That's why Blue Sky is doing so much worse now. It's definitely the weather.
I think also another reason is that Blue Sky is probably even lower than what it shows on Google Trends. The majority of people that are probably talking about Blue Sky on the internet are talking about it being dead and not even about the website itself. That's what I would assume.
I talked about that take a lot further in my video. I'm not going to repeat all that.
Yeah, it's not even about the website.
About the Washington Post article, they say, where did the Blue Sky sign narrative start? The recent spike in negativity seems to trace back to a handful of op-eds and social media posts. Most notably, Washington Post columnist Megan McArdle published a piece bemoaning Blue Sky's culture and tone, framing it as an inhospitable echo chamber. Here's a screenshot of the article titled, "The Blue Sky Bubble Hurts Liberals and Their Causes." The subtext, the social media network was doomed to fail as users tried to recreate Twitter. I can't...
She's right. She's completely right.
The entire thing, because every time I go to this article, some lame pop-up appears trying to get me to like sign up to Washington Post, and I ain't doing all that. But I digress. Fuck on now, the slop article. Take a look at this section that's really funny, titled, "So is Blue Sky..."
I think the Western media platform solely advertised to Western minorities would have done better. Well, this is obviously advertised to minorities. That's why they lost the election and they had to go over to this other website to cope about it. That's what happened.
No, it's growing.
They're
slowly,
literally a minority.
organically, and sometimes awkwardly.
That's what happened.
Growing nonetheless. User counts continue to rise. More developers are building tools around its open protocol. More communities are finding their footing. And then once again, the same note from earlier is posted again, where the author is desperately trying to get Blue Sky users to use their Blue Sky tool thing. But then we get this absolutely hilarious section here. They say, what we're witnessing isn't just commentary. It's a coordinated propaganda narrative, and it's being amplified by creators and media who have a lot to lose if Blue Sky succeeds.
That's true. I don't want Blue Sky to succeed. I want to kill it. I think it represents everything that I don't like about the internet, and everybody that I don't like is a supporter of it. So yeah. No, you're right.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
True.
The loudest critics often aren't even regular users of the platform. They're pundits.
As a matter of fact,
or billionaire egos bruised by a lack of praise. That's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that Blue Sky is working as intended.
Surely.
Haters gonna hate, cry.
oh god.
Bro actually just typed that out.
Haters gonna hate?
Yeah.
What year is this? Oh my god. This is a
If you log into Blue Sky expecting the chaos of Twitter or the viral dopamine hits of TikTok,
Oh
yeah,
my
it might feel
God.
quiet or unengaging. But if you give it time, curate your feeds, follow interesting people, and build your own experience, you'll find a platform that's refreshingly human. Blue Sky isn't dying. It's just refusing to play by the rules that broke the rest of the internet.
Pick your hero.
I almost feel
or
bad for
villain.
these
I'm
people.
Not judging.
but I don't.
I am beyond my
Oh my
Yep.
God.
creator.
Normal
Obviously,
4-year-old
it's
versus Blue Sky
particularly
Sim.
hilarious,
Yep.
though.
One.
Coordinated propaganda narrative, the dude says. And in reality, it's like Blue Sky users themselves complaining about the engagement going low.
Well, Blue Sky is built off of the premise of a coordinated propaganda narrative because it's entirely built. Most of the people that moved over to Blue Sky moved over there because they wanted Blue Sky to have certain opinions. That's the entire reason why Blue Sky exists in the first place, is because of a coordinated propaganda narrative.
Like,
That's the whole point.
Videos about that and like an op-ed here and there from some like news outlets. It's very clearly
30
not
seconds
coordinated,
before
is
you
my
attack.
point. Like,
Get
it's
ready.
just people talking about what's
Is it like
going
the
on.
XTOS?
Wow.
Yeah.
We can't have that though. We gotta say it's a coordinated campaign against Blue Sky from people who are terrified to see it succeed. And I think a lot of us actually like would prefer Blue Sky to succeed because it's acting as a quarantine for some of the.
I don't. I want to see. I don't want them in a reservation. I want them out in the wild. I want them to be hunted, not literally, but only metaphorically.
2. All you need
They
to
have
do is
like
capture
these
the
people
mission
are an
area.
endangered
Got it?
species, and yep, I want it to burn. Absolutely, metaphorically. That's it. Alligator Alley. Yep.
Most toxic, pathetic people on the internet. So that's a big plus. Again, there are like not all Blue Skies like that. I've seen some like actual cool artists on Blue Sky just have their presence on there. So like I understand there are some people on Blue Sky who just want to try it out or like hope to be better than like else on the internet. So I you know I'll emphasize that nuance when I'm talking about this stuff. But the majority of stuff I do see on Blue Sky is either just like the same sort of slop you see on Twitter where it's like, oh, look at this animal doing something, and it's probably some like bot account or something. And then if it's not that, it's just like the most extreme political slop you could possibly imagine, and just some of the most pathetic people on the internet quarantining themselves away on Blue Sky, which again, a lot of us
They have to. They have to, or they're going to get bullied off the internet. That's what's going to happen. It's because these people, they have to stay there because that's the only place where they're safe.
or if they stay there,
That's
because
it.
it makes everywhere else better. And then from a content perspective, Blue Sky has actually been great. I've had so much content.
That is a good
Blue Sky.
point. Yeah, if Blue Sky, like, I mean, do you remember how many videos you made about Assassin's Creed Shadows and then the game came out and, like, all that fun was over? That kind of sucked. So, like, yeah, maybe I do hope Blue Sky stays around. It's like a, you know, like a cow that you can keep milking every once in a while. Maybe that's a good idea.
Post about things. Like, look at this whole VA arc we've been on for like 3 going on 4 months now. Not every video has been about Blue Sky, but there's been plenty of times where we do source back to Blue Sky because these VAs, like, say the craziest stuff in their echo chambers over there. It's hilarious to take a look at and talk about. So yeah, that's really it. I just thought this was all really, really funny. And I think I forgot to say this earlier, but shout out to Pass Control and Smugglerina. Both are very entertaining traders. Wishing the best.
We
And
are
take care.
undefeatable!
What a nice guy.
Like, subscribing. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your week. See you in the comments here and in the next one.
Man,
Defund and deport.
man. Ain't that something?
This
Shout out
is
nice. Yeah, what a
real
nice dude.
firepower.
And anyway, let's see here. Trump's throw's been passed. I saw that before. And Facebook has 2.1 a billion daily active users. I don't know if that's 2.1. You're telling me like a third of,
and they link
like a fourth of the entire world logs onto Facebook every single day. I mean, I don't think that's probably true. Okay. So yeah, let's see here. Check the Blue Sky tab on Reddit. Yeah, I'll look at it in a minute. There's the video. Give it a like. I like Hero High a lot too. He makes good videos and he talks about drama that I care about. So I think it's fucking funny. I am so glad to see Blue Sky dying, and I have. For me to think that I even contributed 1% fills me with a tremendous amount of pride. I hate what the website represents. I hate the people on the website. I hate the rules of the website. I hate everything about the website. So if I can do anything to make it worse, I will do it. So somebody, wait, there's no way. They had to have seen this, right? I've got to read the comments on this before it gets deleted.
30 seconds.
Give me a second. Let me open it up.
Get ready.
Okay, good. Give me 1 second. So I'll read a few of these, and we'll see where this is. And what's wrong? I still see ups and downs. Remember, Blue Sky has no marketing team. It grows organic, and that's the get good. Blue Sky does have a marketing team. Its marketing team is Donald Trump. That's why every time Trump does something, it goes up.
The battle starts
Oh,
in
look,
5,
Asmongold
4, 3,
is sending
2,
his goblins
1.
again, and somebody
All you need to
posts
do
an
is capture the
emoji
mission area.
of a
Got it?
cockroach. That's right, guys. That's right. Everything on the internet that happens is because of me. Did you guys know that? Surprise! That's right, Rochelle. Yep, there it is. So the interest in Blue Sky has gone up versus over a year ago. Thanks for the info. I have an account with 3,700 followers. It's dead on there. You love to see it. Not really used to anyone with shit to begin with.
Capture the mission area.
Good graphs don't look like that. Yeah, I don't think they do either. And what is this here? Priority. Oh, God. We did, in fact, fix the Discover. Nobody gives a shit. Blue Sky via website isn't working. Look at these. Nobody's even... Like, this is the most active one. Moderation sucks. Blue Sky is full of tankies, trolls, bullies, spammers, and terrorist supporters. Oh, God. You're a Zionist, aren't you? Huh? What? What's this stupid thing talking about? Oh, God.
We are undefeatable.
Hassan's mad at Legal Mindset. Does Legal Mindset, I guess, made a video about Hassan?
Together to maximum pulse.
Video about you, dude. If I were to cover every Rumble lawyer, fake lawyer that actually is like a fucking right-wing freak that spends most of their time talking about like trans people, I would lose my mind. I would have no time to cover anything else. A lot of you are drama perverts, okay? And you know.
They've almost got it.
Is he back to the I'm above drama thing again? Is he doing this again? He is.
When you think about the prospect of
We
drama,
are
but I'm not going to pay any mind or any attention to some fucking psychotic mad lawyer, not a real lawyer, but a passport lawyer. Courses
He didn't say he was a lawyer. He said he was. Did he say he was a lawyer?
on becoming a passport bro who primarily fucking streams on Rumble.
Well, you can't
I don't
expect a
see
real
how
law.
Hassan can criticize someone for being a passport bro whenever you went to brothels overseas. I think that's a bit of a double standard. That's just me. But to me, that seems like a double standard.
Why do you guys come in here and ask for this stuff? It's never gonna happen. Okay? It's never happening.
Is this it?
We're talking about Labubu's 24 karat gold Labubus.
The right heroes
Dude,
could
you
make
gotta
all
watch
the
the Sigma
difference.
Grindset lawyer's fucking video on you.
Creator, I am beyond
I'm good, man. Thanks.
Carrot Gold Labubu.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. So he wasn't happy about the video. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and watch it. We'll see if there's a reason to be unhappy about it. Okay. I haven't seen this. Apparently,
I will bring peace to
it came out earlier today, and we will take a look at it. So this is Legal Mindset. He recently hit apparently 300,000 subscribers, and he released a video, and it's called "Twitch Has a Hassan Problem."
Stay strong.
Okay, let's take a look at it. Let's watch it. Here we go. And also, by the way, of course, Hassan isn't going to watch a video of people calling into action the fact that he pulled out what could have been considered as a firearm. Whether you think that it's a real gun or not, apparently people said it was an airsoft gun. Go rob a store, go rob a bank with an airsoft gun, you're going to get charged as if it was a real gun. I don't think it really matters, but, you know, of course he's not going to watch that.
Thank you. I shouldn't.
Twitch has a brand new Hassan problem, and this one could have...
So he's not introducing himself as a lawyer, right? He's just talking about legality? Because I was just curious, like, if that was what was going to happen.
Huge repercussions, both legal and non-legal. We're going to get into that today. Of course, on the Legal Mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and I'm bringing you this fast, familiar, a quick and dirty version while I once again on...
Is he an attorney or not? I don't even know.
Reputation in lovely Phuket, Thailand. So another hotel room, another place, but still bringing you the freshest news. So make sure you like this video.
He is? Okay. But then why would they say it's fake? Esquire means attorney? Oh, I thought it was like a...
My step?
Like SPA from like Expedition 33. I just thought it was like... That's crazy, okay.
I can hear you.
So let's get right into it. Twitch has always taken a preferential stance when it comes to enforcing its guidelines, or at least it, when looking at its terms of service, has not always applied those equally to all groups and people. And one of the people that gets the most criticism for
Everybody knows that this is a fact.
this, and that many folks across the board have said is the really recipient of a lot of the benefit of the terms of service without the burden of punishment, has been one Hassan Hiker. Now,
I actually think that Hassan is the most noteworthy case because he's really popular. But the fact is that other people do worse stuff than Hassan all the time, and they never get in trouble either. I think that really everybody thinks about Hassan because, again, that's what gets the most attention. But the fact is that, like, Mike from PA goes way harder than Hassan does. Really, like, I mean, there's no universe where, like, I mean, Hassan does things that are unhinged, but even Hassan, I think, tries to at least pretend to not be crazy.
You get a weapon! You get a weapon! You get a weapon!
Today, there was an absolutely extreme incident which really points out the problem for Twitch in having this unequal enforcement involving Hassan, and how this would have legal consequences. This is involving him swinging around what appears to be, and that's the very key here, legally and overall, what appears to be a weapon. So let's take a look at the video, and of course this is video that I found over on X, which highlights this incident. So we'll take this clip here and give some commentary as we go.
Let's go to war
So, so to give you some background here, it appears there's a chatter in his chat who is made a bunch of comments. Obviously, these are comments that are not fitting with the vibe in the crowd of the...
I mean, to be fair, this chatter is like they should have their account deleted. Like, calling for war and to hang streamers, like, they should have their account deleted. I mean, even if you don't like Hassan or you don't like Zoran Mandami, like, you can't have people saying that, right?
Hassan's chat obviously, for any of this, he would have the ability to block and ban this person. Of course, every single content creator retains the right to ban people out of their chat for whatever reason. Some people are more permissive, some people are more restrictive. That's really up to the creators on the platform. If they choose to ban people for anything, that's up to them. We wouldn't be here today if this was just a block and ban incident, which, once again, I think there was plenty of grounds.
By the way, about Zambani's application to Colombia, he's actually from Uganda, so his application was accurate. So him being African American, like African American is a specific identity of black people that exist in America. Africans are not African American. African American is a specific identity of a group of people inside the United States. He put that on his application in order to use it to get an advantage. He's not a stupid guy. This is a very intelligent, very well manicured, well-presenting, intelligent person. He put that so it would increase his chances of getting accepted. Everybody knows it. Why are we playing games?
For him as a creator, saying, hey, I don't want this person here.
He knew.
And some of this language was even pretty extreme. Saying, paying Hassan for treason, yeah, that's pretty extreme. And you know what? Blocking and banning someone for that would be called for. If someone came into my chat or anybody else's chat and said that about that creator, yeah, they would probably catch a ban. They would probably catch a block and a ban, and possibly a report, a broader report. But the response that Hassan gives here is not proportional nor appropriate to these comments. Let's play this.
In our sincerity and actually delivering the very important.
So let's be clear. He's gone and retrieved what appears to be a pistol. Now, many people have pointed out it could be airsoft.
Even the dog is on alert. The dog is like, oh fuck, oh.
It is airsoft or whatever else. The key here is that it appears to be a real weapon. I'll also note as someone who played airsoft for like 8-9 years as a kid, I had MP5s, I had pistols, I had a sniper rifle, and an airsoft sniper rifle. You're supposed to have a orange tip or a marker on the end of an airsoft. That would be not a typical airsoft to lack that marker or remove that orange tip, even though, of course, some people do that, some people make it realistic. But the key here, and this is a key that is not just in analyzing this for Twitch terms of service, but also broader for the law, is that you can make a physical threat. You can make a threat or try to intimidate somebody with even a fake weapon, with a fake knife, with a fake gun, with a fake bomb. If you were going to try to hijack a plane and you attempted that with a fake gun,
you get tried
would
as if you were using
not be material in terms of your defense. You would not be able to say, oh, but well, it was fake, so I couldn't do it all along. You know, when you get caught and arrested and thrown in jail, you don't get off because, oh, it was fake. No, you would lead a reasonable person to believe that was.
Yeah, you don't need to be a lawyer to know this. Even I know this. How many of you guys already knew this?
Maximum real, and a reasonable person could have fear of that knife, gun, bomb, whatever, despite the fact that it's not objectively real. So that's a defense a lot of people brought up. I don't think that stands up. So let's go.
You know, this period of time that I've been running has been I tell him
Okay, fair enough. Once again, brandishing the weapon, flaring it around. Obviously, there's a point to this. Obviously, there's an individual this is directed at. You know, this is something that's not really ambiguous in their general intention.
It's pretty obvious.
They hit a checkpoint. Now might be a good time to stop them.
I mean, and also I think it's again a very, very big mistake because like if you show a gun, that's gonna hurt. Like if you shoot somebody breaking into your house and they have clips of you showing a gun and that you're gonna shoot people, they could use that as evidence that you premeditated it and you wanted to shoot them, which could make your appeal for self-defense weaker. So I think it was a mistake. It's a mistake to do that.
So here's another crazy thing about the doxing. So now you've paired, so you've linked up, brandishing a weapon, what appears to be a real weapon, whether or not it is, whether it's an airsoft or whatever it's thing. You've paired up brandishing a weapon with doxing, which is revealing their private information, which, by the way, in certain jurisdictions, in certain places in the world, is illegal. So you've done two things which are potentially illegal. There's the brandishing, the threats, the intimidation, and then you've got the doxing, right? So you've got two separate things you're now doing together. So that this is combining them to make it even worse.
Not good at all. It's not the guy. It's not even the guy.
Down to 30 seconds.
Born again!
Disappear!
And of course, I do like the pop-up there just explaining that this is clearly against their TOS. This is something that is not, holistically, both the doxing and the threatening is, of course, against the Twitch terms of service.
Right position? Let's do a crusade, he says. Let's do a fucking crusade, he says. Let's hang out. For treason, he says. The fuck are you gonna do? Go on a fishing expedition? Try to fucking put malware in my phone? Is that what you're gonna do?
You don't have to have big muscles in order to pull the trigger of a gun. It's not like you have to work out in order to shoot a gun. That's the whole point of a gun. Like, I don't even, like, what, are they gonna beat each other up with a gun? I don't know. You're misinterpreting it. It's not a threat. He's just fucking stupid. I think that if you pulled out a gun like this in front of a police officer, you would be spending the night in jail or in the morgue. I think this is absolutely a threat. I think if somebody went to your house and they did this in front of your house, you'd be calling the police.
The right heroes could make all the difference.
And everybody knows it.
You skinny bitch.
And to be clear, nothing that Hassan said would be necessarily impermissible. He could say all those things. He could call them, I believe his technical word was a skinny bitch, all he wants. That would have been perfectly fine. He could yell.
Actually not perfectly fine, because if Tectone can get banned for calling Krogan a fat bitch, then why is Hassan not getting banned for calling someone else a skinny bitch? What is this, fat privilege? That doesn't seem fair.
At this guy the whole night, scream at this guy the whole night. The problem was the weapon combined with the doxing, right? All the other stuff he can do, that's his show, he can run it how he wants. That wouldn't necessarily be against TOS to just yell at the guy the whole night and make fun of the guy. That's fine, do it your way, not what we do on my channel, but hey, he can do it on his channel all he wants. But with that, you open yourself up to a bunch of problems, and Twitch is opened up to a bunch of problems. Because now they've got to decide what they're going to do with Hassan. And in the past, they've only given him slaps on the wrist. That is, they've given him 1 day or 24-hour bans or sometimes 12-hour bans. And that's been all they've done with him. But now we've got a serious problem because we've got a situation in which if he is not banned for this opens up this behavior for others. So it opens up this behavior, these threats for other people, which can bring on what appears to be.
I think also it another thing. I mean, my understanding is like, if I mean, Twitch obviously knows this happened, right? And if Twitch knowingly ignores this, and something bad happens in the future at Twitch, they could use this as evidence that there's a pattern of behavior that Twitch does not call or, action problematic actors. You see what I'm saying? And like that can be used as like a precedent of irresponsibility, negligence, or something like that. They have to do something. You're wrong on that? Well, okay, so I can draw a parallel, okay? And this is the only thing I can do as a developer. And again, like maybe he could, you know, elaborate on this more. But like for example, for any sort of, you know, child sexual abuse material or copyright material, the problem is not that the content is on the platform. The problem only exists with liability towards the company if the company knows the content is on the platform and they permit it to be on the platform. So they're not proactively accountable, but if there's evidence that they knew about it and they let it happen, then they are accountable. And that's part of Section 230 that removes liability. It's called precedence, yes, and so that's my bet. That's where I'm drawing this connection from. And it also creates a history of behavior. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? I mean, if somebody has a history of behavior, then you can assume that it wasn't just an accident, right? Period.
Maximum pulse! To real weapons, knives, bombs, and dox people, threaten them. And here's the problem for Twitch. They open themselves up for not just losing advertisers, which is a big non-legal issue. Not just looking bad as a brand, because obviously nobody wants to be the platform in which people are openly brandishing weapons and threatening others and doxing them. That's not good for a platform. But you open yourself up to illegal consequences as well. Now, obviously, many people know the breach of contract route. And there are arguments in terms of breaching the contract between the creator and the platform in terms of banning somebody for one type of behavior, whereas you don't ban under a private right of action. Every state has their consumer laws, and those laws are sometimes very, very strong. And one thing they protect against is unfair and deceptive practices. And it indeed is a very strong case to say it is an unfair and deceptive practice to benefit some people while punishing others. Because this bias, for example, Hassan bias, is not disclosed anywhere. It's not given out in the terms of service. When you read the terms of service, nowhere does it say.
I don't think that they can really have that bias happen and be held accountable for it unless it can be proven that it's done off of grounds that were protected. And this is, again, I'm not sure about this, but that's my understanding, is that, like, you can ban people for whatever reason you want, but there are certain groups of people that you can't ban categorically for discrimination reasons. So, like, for example, you can't ban black people from doing something, but you can ban other groups of people, like all Republicans, for example. Because some things are protected groups and other things are not. So I think that's my understanding, but I could be wrong.
Everyone will be punished except for Hassan Piker. Everyone will be banned except for Hassan Piker. Or, for example, if you want to be more broad, everyone will be banned except for Hassan Piker's political beliefs or affiliations or associates. If that was explored publicly, then fair dues, then you can do what you're trying to do. Of course, advertisers may have an issue with that, but legally it wouldn't be accepted. But now you're deceiving the consumer, both the people that are consuming the content, that are expecting that their favorite content creators will not be banned, and then seeing them get banned, and deceiving the creators themselves by lulling them into a belief that they can stream on your platform safely and do what they want. It's like
I think the big problem is that a lot of companies want to have the privileges of Section 230 that allows them immunity from accountability from their behavior. So they want the privileges of a platform, but the power of a publisher. And I think that the more companies start applying these terms of service like rules arbitrarily, and they're not applying them in an even way, I think that really this is a privilege that the government gives these websites and these companies, and in turn, I think these companies should be acting in good faith. And if these companies are not acting in good faith and they're not doing the thing that the privilege is designed to allow them to do, or not do in this case, which is preemptively censor and audit all content, and that's again because they're not a publisher, they're not publishing it themselves, they're just a platform for other people to publish on it. If you are applying this much editorial control to a website, at what point do you effectively become a publisher? right? It's the second that happens, right-leaning websites or media get censored out of existence due to liability of removing or restricting Section 230. Well, I don't have a problem with that at all with companies that are actively applying it one-dimensionally.
You'll need a
But then
top-notch
they're
team to
ultimately
win
punished,
this
and
one.
they're punished for a much longer period of time. They're losing a much larger slice of revenue, memberships, subscriptions, etc., affiliate deals than Hassan. So you're able to point to that and say, I have damages because I am being banned for 7x, 10x, 30x, way longer than Hassan, and I can bring this private cause of action for an unfair and deceptive practice on the part of Twitch. And there's a lot of folks that may be opened up for that. So looking at this,
I think that especially with how, like, and this was the really bad one was the Arab to Jew tier list that they did. That's the one that I think is really going to get them in a bad situation. Is that if they're banning and applying rules to people based off of perceived ethnic differences, if that can be proven in court, Twitch is actually fucked.
What can you do?
The Sabra tier list, yeah, it is. It should be a permit. That was crazy. It was. And also, like, another thing too is that I don't think that the tier list is a problem. Like, but and this is kind of like this is what the issue is that it's the systematic allowance of one type of racism while other types of racism are being banned. And I think that's really where the problem is more than anything. Because like on YouTube, for example, or on Kick or Rumble, you can say a lot of different crazy stuff. But Twitch has a much more narrow terms of service and a lot more things that would be against the rules on other platforms or would not be against the rules are against the rules on Twitch. So really the problem isn't that it's happening. The problem is that it's happening and it's being regulated in a one-dimensional way. Israeli accounts are banned from opening accounts by ID. Yeah. Like there is a lot of evidence, I think, and not there's a lot of evidence that points towards the direction that Twitch has had a bias that is detrimental to Jewish people. I would say so. I think criticism and the negative treatment towards Jewish people has been allowed to exist much more than the opposite. I think also you have creators that, you know, with that tier list that got a 30-day ban and that was it. And I don't know, I mean, like, it's very hard to prove something like that in court. That's a very big accusation. But I think that they would have a number of points of reference, and especially with, you know, like the logic of, like, Twitch, for example, if Twitch said, well, we banned the IP addresses after October 7th from Israel and Palestine because of the war, that would be immediately deleted when you look at the fact that Ukraine wasn't banned. It would just be instantaneously gone. So, like, that argument doesn't exist. And I think that, again, like, yeah, the logic's off. Yeah, of course, it's totally off. And same with Russia, exactly.
Big problem. It would be even a bigger problem if there was a real incident where somebody got into an altercation where there was a threat made like Hassan, and then somebody responded with force. We saw the case of Sin City Manny in Las Vegas, a streamer that responded to taunting and threats of other streamers. People are not beyond responding with violence, particularly in America.
Especially not
that
now.
is something in 2025. That's
Very
something that
common.
could happen, and God forbid that do happen, would be the absolute end of Twitch as a platform. What do I see them doing? They've got to do something against Hassan. Hopefully they give him a longer term ban, more than just 24 hours. But unfortunately, Twitch has been known to be very light on its favorite golden boy. But let me know in the comments below what you think about the whole situation. What do you think they're going to do with Hassan? If they're going to do anything, I'll catch you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it puts Twitch in a very...
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
I think it really does. It puts them in a very bad position. And I think also, like, there's just been... The issue is that there have been so many instances here. Give it a like. I haven't watched the Legal Mindset video all the way in general, right? But yeah, there it is. And I don't believe you have turned off Israel and Ukraine because they learned they made a mistake with Ukraine. I don't believe it, but it's possible. Well, no, because then they didn't turn off. Did they turn it off with India and Pakistan? So if they only applied this rule one-dimensionally, and And also, you've got to keep in mind that what do you think the probability is that there have been anti-Semitic communications in channels that could be subpoenaed and found through discovery on Twitch's actual service, especially with individual people that are communicating between each other? I think there's a very high probability that that would happen. A very good chance, yes. And so I think that again, if this goes to court, and I'm guessing, right? I'm not sure about this, but like I think that there's a very high probability.
Jobs are not what they used to be. The average time an employee spends with our company is now at the lowest level ever, and that's by design. We have gone from full-time to part-time to casual to gig work, lowering the expectation of a long-term professional.
It's crazy how many people do like Uber, and they do Uber Eats or Lyft or some sort of thing like this. It's actually crazy how popular it is.
Relationship every step of the way.
If DoorDash, yeah.
Studies have shown that many workplaces are now intentionally promoting the fear of job losses in an attempt to motivate workers and keep costs down.
That's smart. That's a good idea. Yeah, you got to make them think that they're on the ropes.
This is usually a really dumb idea. The death of job security is bad for workers and bad for companies, but nobody cares anymore.
So we have immediately seen, Andrew, layoffs.
Yep.
We've seen
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Well, it's also like, I mean, if they're paying more money, like the, what do you call it? Like the amount of money that like jobs are paying, like minimum wage goes up, they're going to be able to get better candidates, just in general. Like the more money you pay for a job, the better candidates you're going to get. Just on average. It's not a one-to-one, but there's this fucking extremely strong correlation.
Coast to coast could soon be out of the job.
15 million new jobs in just 3 years. A record.
Musk said the company would limit the days headcount by around 10%. This year, and we're just a few weeks into 2024.
Up until the 1980s, it wasn't unusual for workers to spend their entire professional careers working with just one company. Company loyalty was highly valued by employers and employees. The threat of getting laid off or fired was incredibly low. If you ever watch old films and see someone getting fired as a major plot point, just remember it actually was a big deal back then.
What was this one? The car salesman movie, Alec Baldwin. Not Never Get a Man. Something else. Glengarry Glen Ross. I remember seeing this, bro. This guy, like, Alec Baldwin, huge fucking asshole, great fucking actor. He was so good with this. Coffees for closers, that's right. So good.
But according to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, those days are long gone. The average tenure of young employees these days is less than a third of the baby boomers exiting the workforce.
I think a lot of people also, this is encouraged by now that people are able to communicate more online. There is a very, very common assumption that, you know, whether it's true or not is irrelevant. People think this, that the best way to increase your salary is to, instead of increasing your rank at your current job, is to hop between company to company and then get your salary up that way instead.
I don't want to sound too old here, but back in my day, people actually cared about doing their job. But today, getting fired or laid out from your company just makes good content to post on TikTok. This is a bad...
I don't agree with this. I think that's not true. I think the only reason he's saying that is because he's not looking at the single moms that get fired who lose their house. Like, go out there to the side of the street and talk to all those people and think about how easy was it for them to get laid off of their job. Yeah, for sure, some 19-year-old pretty girl isn't going to have this problem because, you know, she can find a guy to live with or she can go back and live with her parents. But for, like, an average person, getting fired from your job is absolutely fucking life-changing. It's not even a question.
Companies, because it takes away their biggest stick. The fear of getting fired is always going to be a motivator in the workplace. There really is no way around that. If you don't do your job or cause too much trouble for the company, you are going to lose your job.
Well, that's the way it should be. If you're not doing your job, you should get fired. Yeah, wow, what a fucking surprise. We're going to act like this is bad? Yeah, no shit.
But the main benefits that come with it. But as the great Peter Gibbons would say, that will only make someone work just hard enough to not get fired. The death of job security means that people just expect to lose their job at some point in their career these days. But there are 3 big reasons why it was allowed to get this bad, and 3 reasons why nobody really cares anymore. The first reason is that companies give up on training their own staff. There is an old joke about company staffing that goes something like this. The CEO and head of HR are arguing about the cost to train staff. The CEO asks, what would happen if we spent all this money and they quit? To which the head of HR responds, what happens if we don't spend the money and they stay? But as more people move jobs more often, the CEO's argument is actually starting to make sense. Research conducted by Peter Capelli, the director of the Wharton School Center for Human Resources, found that the time and money spent on staff training within companies has fallen drastically. In 1979, the average worker receives 2.5 weeks on the job training every single year.
It's also, if you keep rotating employees regularly for easy jobs that don't require a lot of like intuitive thinking or critical thinking, you're able to keep salaries lower. Because, you know, like a lot of the times whenever people get cut from jobs, like there's actually even laws against this, where like you can't just cut people because their salary has gotten too high. Well, think about why there's laws against it. Well, there's laws against it because that's what people try to do.
2004, it was just 11 hours, and most of that was safety training, not developing new skills. A more recent follow-up survey conducted by the same team in 2011 found that only 1/5 of workers received
get around those laws easy. Of course you can.
On-the-job training at all within the last year. Companies don't want to train people because they are leaving their jobs more frequently than they used to.
Yeah, sure.
So they are only willing to hire employees that are already able to do the job. Standardized systems have made this a lot easier for them to do. If you are a professional office worker, it's almost a prerequisite to have a basic proficiency in Microsoft Office, especially Excel. And every profession now has its own industry standard productivity programs. If you are a creative, you use Adobe Suite. If you're in sales, you use HubSpot or comparable CRM. And if you're in marketing, you need to know your way around a box of crayons. Oh, the advertising analytics backend of Google, Meta, and LinkedIn. Since these skills have become the standard for all employees, companies can hire people that are already ready to work on day one. Where in the past,
well, why would you want to? Well, it's like, yeah, of course. It's like if you're in a raiding guild, would you want to gear somebody up or just recruit somebody to the guild that's geared? Well, it's a lot easier to recruit somebody to the guild that's geared. Like, why would you want to gear up a whole new person? Yeah, want the easier way? Yeah, exactly. It's not even a question.
Training programs on the unique in-house systems of that particular company.
Yeah.
But standardized programs have also meant that people can find a new job that they are qualified for with less barriers, which means they switch jobs more often, which means companies invest less in the training unloyal staff, which means even more need for industry.
It's also because people don't have upward mobility inside of their own jobs. I don't know if he's going to cover this at all, but this is probably, I think, one of the biggest reasons. It's because, like, Blizzard, ironically, is actually one of the companies that at least I'm aware of that doesn't have this problem where there is a lot of upward mobility, but or at least there used to be. But with a lot of companies, you're kind of like you're like kind of bracketed in, where you can only go like maybe 3 positions above your current one before you'd have to join another company and then do 3 more and then go back to your original company, and then somehow now you're qualified to do the job that they said that they weren't going to hire you for fucking 5 years ago. 3 is already too much? Sure, I'm just throwing out a number. Same with salary bumps? Yeah, definitely, right? That's the reason why.
Judge, jury,
Yep, there it is.
Professional relationship with this kind of work lasts as long
This is the beginning of this is the beginning of neo-feudalism, by the way, where you have a lot of people whose job it is to only drive around other people with more money than them. This is the beginning. We're seeing it. It's right in front of us. Nobody wants to acknowledge it. It's happening, and it's going to get worse every year. It's just a taxi. It's like, dude, Uber and Lyft is, I would say, 20x or 50x more prevalent and more common than a taxi. Way more. And it didn't really have food delivery except for like a couple of places, like pizza places, maybe Chinese, a couple of other places that deliver. Now everything's got it.
Running. And riders often work between multiple apps at the same time to maximize earning and
they do.
If you want to get ahead in a professional career these days, it's hard to tell you. But you are going to have to invest some of your own time and money into training yourself, even if it's just to tick a meaningless qualification box. Companies aren't going to train you anymore, which means if you quit or get laid off, it's not as big.
My perspective on this is always lie and cheat on every resume that you possibly can, because the company will do the exact same thing to you given the opportunity. Only don't do that in situations where you can be held criminally liable for not doing it, or in situations where it will be immediately disproven and it can be damaging. Other than that, lie about everything and mislead them as much as you can, because they'll do the same thing to you.
Deal for either party, but the decline of on-job training is just the first reason. So it's time to learn how money works, find out why job security is dying, why nobody cares, and what happens when nobody has a job for long enough to be good at it. This week's lesson is sponsored by Manscaped. Just in time for Father's Day, Manscaped introduces the must-have gifts for every dad. Meet the Handyman and the Weed Whacker 2.0. First up,
Jesus.
The face shaver design for
As a hiring manager, I'll figure out your lies. You're right, but there's places that don't have good hiring managers, and that's what you gotta rely on. That's why you go with the shotgun approach.
Shave, tackling up to 3 days of growth effortlessly. What makes the Handyman exceptional is its skin-safe technology, and its waterproof design, making it easy to rinse under the faucet. Now onto the Weed Whacker 2.0. This nose and ear trimmer is perfect for dads looking to manage their
actually
area.
no work for companies or contractors. Yeah, true.
Judge, jury, executioner!
2.0 is waterproof and includes a high-performance battery that lasts up to 45 minutes, ensuring it's always ready when dad needs it. Don't settle for ordinary gifts like coffee mugs this Father's Day. Opt for something from Manscaped like the Handyman or the Weed Whacker 2.0 and help dad elevate his grooming game from caveman to gentleman.
Yeah, they sent me stuff, but I never really use it.
And use promo code HMW20 and get 20% off plus free international shipping. Make this Father's Day one to remember with Manscaped. The death of job security is bad news for companies, even if they were the ones that caused it. The simple fact is that when you get a new job, you aren't going to be very good at what you do until you learn your new role. Standardized systems have made it easier to transfer basic competencies between companies, but even little things like who you talk to about authorizing your expense reports, the names and faces of clients, or how the office printer works, they all take time for new people to learn. According to a study conducted by Gallup, a business analytics company, it takes the average employee 12 months before they reach their full performance potential in their new role.
This is like a whole study done on this about how like adding more people to a software project actually makes it take longer. I forgot what the term is for it, but it's a well-known and documented phenomenon.
Studies have suggested that new employees are not fully autonomous
Mythical Man Month?
responsibilities for the first 18 months of their employment.
Is that it? Yeah, I didn't hear that before.
3 years in their jobs on average, that means they are going to be spending a third of their career just getting up to speed in their new role. That means a loss in productivity for the companies they work for, right? Wrong. Worker productivity is actually at all-time highs.
It is.
So that begs the question, is this in spite of lower job security or because of it? The second reason that job security is...
I think a big reason is also because jobs have been optimized. So a worker can produce more product and more output because their job has been min-maxed more by people whose job it is to min-max jobs and technology. So like there's a lot of reasons why workers are more productive that actually doesn't have anything to do with workers. It's because the people that min-max jobs are getting better at it every year. And technology is better. This is a bullshit take. No, I'm just completely right and it's obvious. Yeah, there's literally no if you're arguing against this, you're dumb.
Been dying is that it's a great motivation tool. If the fear of losing your job is only enough to motivate you to do the bare minimum to avoid that tap on the shoulder, then you should know that companies have responded by moving those goalposts. A study conducted by economists at Manchester and Cardiff University looked at the motivating factor of what they called manufactured job uncertainty. In this report, researchers tried to work out why fears of job security was going up, even when the rates of people being fired from full-time positions was stable.
This is the same reason why people that are probably afraid of shark attacks go up during Shark Attack Week. It's because people are talking about layoffs all the time. It's like there's not that many people getting attacked by sharks, but whenever you're reading posts about it every day, you think, holy fuck, man, I better not take a bath. There might be a shark in there. That's the reason. It's the same reason, like, this is going to be a spicy one, okay? It's going to get some people mad. Get ready. It's the same reason for, like, false rape accusations. People think that it happens all the time. Bro, it's like a low single-digit percentage of the ones that are actually found out to be fake. Super, super, super uncommon. Extremely fucking rare.
It's by comparing companies in America and the UK.
But because they're so upsetting and they're so unfair, everybody talks about them. And because everybody's talking about them, you think that they're happening all the time. But they're not. It's the same thing as streaming. Oh, I want to be a streamer so I can be rich. No, there's like 50 streamers that are like that. Nobody else is.
People are very happy to lay people off to appease
Sharks
shareholders.
are not a reason to not take a shower.
Japan, which has a
Explain
strong culture
Sharknado.
of never firing people. A small tangent, but Japanese businesses actually take firing people so seriously that they have an alternative practice called oidashi beya.
Is this where they give them shitty jobs? Like,
this loosely translates to workers' purgatory.
Yeah.
According to Japan Intercultural Consulting, a firm that advises businesses operating in the Japanese market, workers' purgatory happens when an employee chronically underperforms in their role. Instead of getting fired, they are typically placed in a room, often windowless, where they have nothing to do.
Yep.
In many cases, their business cards are taken away. And they are forced to do menial, mind-numbing tasks or given nothing to do at all.
Yeah, if you clear out the rats
Japanese
down here,
companies
Milton.
would rather put their workers in solitary confinement
Yeah.
than fire
You'll need a
them, making them a
top-notch
pretty good
team to
contrast to
win this
companies in
one.
America and the UK. What the economists found was that even when job tenure wasn't actually
Milton
good,
treatment?
despite
Yep.
layoffs or firings,
find the
changes to
magic
corporate
in this
control,
world.
and especially
But it does
company
help.
mergers or acquisitions raised uncertainty. Companies noticed that by hyping up this uncertainty and making workers compete against each other to maintain their position in a theoretical downsizing, they could get people to work harder.
Absolutely.
Companies doing this would rank the performance of their teams and compare them
And
to
also,
one
it's good to keep people fighting against each other so they don't think about fighting against you. So, like, if the workers are too busy getting mad and resenting each other, they stop thinking about the fact that you've
I've
engineered
made
the
my
situation
share
to
of
happen in the
mistakes,
first place.
But I am fighting every day to make
another.
amends.
Highlight staff errors and downplay strong performers so that managers and their
30
teams
seconds before you
always felt
attack.
like their job
Get
was at
ready.
risk.
Yeah.
The Japanese firms, despite
find the
actually having
magic
shorter
in this
tenures for
world.
managers and
But it
operating
does
with more
help.
business uncertainty thanks to a weaker overall economy, had a higher sense of job security. Mainly thanks to a culture of protecting workers even at the expense of shareholders.
I think that it's very important to keep in mind, somebody in chat brought this up. I would bet, I don't know this, but I would bet that Japan probably has a lot
battle
stricter
starts in
labor
5,
laws, and you probably can't
4,
fire people as
3,
easily as you can here in the
2,
US.
All you need to do is capture the mission
And that
area.
probably plays a
Got
bigger
it?
role than any other cultural reason. But you could also say that those laws are informed by the cultural reasons, so it's a bit of a chicken and egg scenario.
Someone is shooting at us.
In a wonderful twist of fate, though, the study also found that this is not really working on younger employees. Decades of well-publicized layoffs means that younger managers have no expectation of job security and aren't afraid of losing their jobs as much as older managers who come from a time when people could spend their entire careers with one company. The rank and yank strategy only works to boost productivity for so long. A company should get rid of bad employees, but if it makes everybody feel on edge about their jobs forever, then even the best employees are just going to look for better opportunities elsewhere.
I think that the bigger problem is the lack of upward mobility. I think that's the real reason. It's people that are like 28 and they've been at the same job and they feel like they're ready to be promoted, but they can't get promoted because maybe they don't have a you know, like maybe a master's degree. So they have to join another company that doesn't have that requirement, and then they come back and then they have to, they basically they are effectively applying to the same job with experience from that job that they're applying from, even though they didn't need that requirement somewhere else. That's the real reason. That's the actual, I think that's a much bigger factor with like employees over like 26 or 28, if I had to guess, from like, you know, conversations I've had with friends and stuff like that.
Younger workers have also realized that changing jobs more frequently, especially early in their career, is the best way to move up the corporate ladder and secure pay positions. I will say it in every video I can, but if you want to increase your earnings in your career, multiple studies suggest that the best way to do this is to change jobs roughly every 2 years, and always be on the lookout for better opportunities. Companies do not value staff loyalty anymore, because they can't. And that's the third reason why job security...
It's not because they can't, it's because they don't have to. The companies only valued that in the past because it was the most effective way for them to make money. The companies never actually cared about you. It's just that caring about you was a secondary outcome to them seeking the highest profits possible. Now that that's no longer possible, or it's no longer necessary, then they don't care about you anymore. They only cared about you as a byproduct of a greater role.
9. It costs businesses a lot of money to hire new employees, and then more money to pay them while they're getting good at their job. If they are hiring externally for a more senior position, they will also need to pay that new hire more than an internal promotion. So if it makes no sense, then why do companies keep doing this? Well, it's easier. An internal promotion means someone else needs to be promoted to fill that person's position, and someone else needs to be promoted to fill theirs. Now, instead of your company having one employee in a new job, it has 5.
That's a good point.
Hiring managers could do this, or they could just hire an external candidate that already knows the system and then get back to scrolling Reddit in their office.
Right.
Workers
Most
also
importantly,
don't believe in job stability either. Things like employee pension plans and human development are all the responsibility of the worker now. And if they are accepting that responsibility, they also want the freedom that comes with it. Some companies like consulting, legal, and accounting firms have built their entire workforce around limited time employees. Overworked, underpaid graduates will stick it out in entry-level roles because they know it looks good on the resume when they apply for a real job in 2 years.
Which is true, though. The fact is that, like, being and having one of those jobs is absolutely true, that it helps you a lot. It is, and that's the problem, is that, like, it shouldn't be true, but it is. That's why people take unpaid internships. Absolutely.
Companies can attract high-performing workers by bragging about how secure they are. Even companies that were considered American institutions have fallen apart too many times for people to think that their job is secure. And job security isn't a selling point worth taking a job for.
I don't think that people are viewing job security as an outcome of the companies falling apart or going bankrupt. Like, unless you're Enron, the Lehman Brothers, or, you know, a handful of other places, like a game studio, for example, it's probably not going to happen in this way. That's not the real reason.
Care. So, congratulations, corporate America. You kind of played yourself. There's so much more I want to say on this topic, but it wouldn't make for a good YouTube video. For things like that, make sure you're subscribed to my totally free email newsletter Compounded Daily if you want to get articles that can't be made into videos. The bonus 4th reason that job security is dead is this man right here. Go and watch my new video to find out how an unremarkable chemical engineer worked his way up to personally reshape corporate America into what it is today, all while destroying his company in the process.
What a good guy.
While learning how money works.
What a nice dude. How about that? Well, I figured I'd watch this since I haven't talked about this stuff in a while. But I think it's actually a pretty big problem. I think it's happening, obviously, like with gaming. It's a huge thing. What's this here? Whenever I ask for a raise, my boss makes veiled threats saying, if you can't keep up with your workload, we'll bring on other people. Well, what you should do, again, like, my perspective is that this is the way I am in a guild or anything like that. I'm always only in it for myself, and the only times that I help other people or go beyond the scope of what I need to do are in cases where it will be eventually advantageous to myself. I am always advocating for myself directly and myself primarily. If I help other people in the process, then that's usually a good thing. I will try to do that. But I always put myself first, I put my interests first, and I do what's best for me in all circumstances, even if it's at the detriment of the organization. If it's at the detriment of the company, that's too bad. That's too bad. Because, again, I don't care about them. I care about me. That's it. That's what happens. And so it's a company. Well, I'm not. Yeah, this is different, right? I mean, now I have to give a shit, right? Much more stressful. Like, it was much less stressful whenever I didn't have to give a shit, you know. But whenever now that I'm in a leadership position, now I do have to give a shit. Now I do have to worry about all these little things, and it's like, oh god, there's a lot going on, right? But like back whenever it was just me looking out for me, it was way easier. It absolutely was. So yeah.
You're not going anywhere. That's it. Don't let anything stand in your way.
Hey, I'm not sure if you get the memo, but AAA gaming is dying. That's right. If you happen to miss the thousands of other videos on this topic, it would appear that AAA games are in big trouble. Fret not if you're a fan, though. And
for real, though, like, honestly,
someone is
It's not
shooting at us.
always. That's not always the case. That is not always the case, and like that, this like Microsoft game show that we just got done watching today proves that not all AAA is dead.
These companies are still doing fine, releasing blockbuster titles and making billions of dollars. But it does seem in many ways this portion of the industry has been collapsing under its own weight as of late. Think about how often we've seen these new big AAA games launching and failing.
To be fair, like I could have told you Forspoken was going to be garbage. Like, I don't know who the executives in the room were that thought this was a good idea, but they're dumb. Yeah, so like, that's it. It was just stupid. Like, you shouldn't have done it. Like, anybody could have told you that.
Recently had a few high-profile examples. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, the live service game.
Yeah, like, whose idea was it to make Harley Quinn less hot? What kind of a fucking idiot thought that was a good idea?
Be right there.
What a stupid thing to do. Some dumbass.
Pulse charge, fire.
Do you think anybody gives a fuck about Harley Quinn? Nobody cares about Harley Quinn. They just liked her because she's hot. The fuck? Like, how can you be so stupid?
Under my spell.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Rocksteady launched in February, peaking at 13,000 current players and dropped down to an abysmally low 400 1 month later.
The funny thing is it's higher than it was.
Its review scores of around 60% from critics, and according to its own publisher, sales fell far below expectations, resulting in a poor financial quarter. The net result of them developing this game, it cost Warner Bros. Nearly $200 million in losses.
So far, keep in mind it's a live service game.
Bones, the standalone spin-off of the much-loved ship combat from Assassin's Creed Black Flag, spent over 11 years in development.
And somehow it's worse than Black Flag. That's impressive.
Cost Ubisoft over $200 million to make, and immediately post-release found itself in shambles and washed ashore. Review scores averaged around 61. The game accrued less than 1 million total players across all platforms, and apparently it is not expected to recoup its development costs. Not a great showing for the world's first quadruple-A game. Both of these examples, I think, highlight some of the bigger issues for AAA games in general. Massive budgets, long development times, and no room for failure. Many of these games take, on average, 5 to 7 years to make. Development time for some of these titles exceeding a decade. And this time...
You know what that game, Immortals of Avenum, you know what that game reminded me of? It reminded me of, like, whenever you're a little kid. It's like... No, that's a bad way to say it. It's like eating candy. And like the colors are so vibrant and they're everywhere. It's like eating, like playing that game looked like eating candy until you're sick.
Translates to loads of money. In fact, I would say one of the biggest sources of problems for AAA gaming, period, stems from the fact that these games cost way too much to make.
do.
In the late 90s and early 2000s, the high end of development cost for games included titles like Final Fantasy VII and Halo 2, which both cost $40 million, or World of Warcraft, which cost $65 million. But again, these numbers were at the high end of cost in the time frame between, say, 95 and...
Yeah, you got to keep in mind, like Halo 2 and World of Warcraft, like these were the top of the top. This was the cream of the crop.
2005. Most other games that we'd consider AAA of this time period.
So we had a pretty interesting thing happen. This entire event has massively popped off. So Stop Killing Games has reached
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
1 million signatures.
Okay, this one's going to be fun. So, the Stop Killing Games initiative is almost over. And last time we covered it, the European Citizens Initiative, which is the part of it that matters the most, had just opened. And as of right now, you've got just days to join it, meaning that this is your last chance to make your voice heard and hopefully prevent the games that you buy from being destroyed.
That's right.
But here's the thing. Until last week, it really did seem to be
dead.
rather doomed.
Yeah.
They needed hundreds,
People lost interest.
hundreds, over 500,000 more signatures. But, well... right now, it's getting thousands an hour. The reason why is quite funny. So
It crossed 1 million. They have reached the goal, and they are even going beyond that even farther. What is it at right now?
Get ready.
Happened. They needed a hit, 1 million signatures, but after months of stalling, they only had 450k. But then, over the horizon, a savior came.
They're past 1.13.
And that's because his opposition, plus a few pinches of World of Warcraft, sparked a drama that is now surging signatures to the tune of over 240,000 in just 7 days. So,
that's right.
Time to get you up to speed. It all began last year when the darlings at Ubisoft shut down the crew. Now, they didn't just shut down the online features, they shut down everything.
Yeah, you can even play
Turns
it.
out, even the single player required the online component. That basically meant that your copy of the crew was, didn't do anything with it.
Yep.
So, Ross stopped and farms was no he started the movement. Now, you may know Ross from things like Freeman's Mind, Dead News, and his plan, right, was to use the law.
Ross has been an advocate for gamer rights and other types of consumer protections for electronic media for a long period of time. This isn't, it's not like this is his first rodeo and it's his first time talking about this. He's been an advocate for this for quite a while.
To actually change things here. And it certainly seems that now, a year on, he's actually succeeding. So basically, bought a product with the and that product is then taken away. It's rather different. They are using a license to a live service. Whenever they want it. So put simply, what this movement aims to do is to address this grey area so that at the very least,
I don't think that companies should be allowed to repackage sales as licenses rather than products in order to just take consumer rights away from them. I think that's bullshit. How does that help anything? How is that in any way in the benefit of the actual customer or the population? Yeah, it's not right. Yeah, it's bullshit.
Formal clarity on what you're actually buying. Best case scenario would involve something this is all
You stay from the start.
Existing laws already cover
Very
the issue.
true.
As for the US, well, basically, there's never an option because of already settled law. And because of this, stuff got grim. Well, last summer, another path opened. And that path was the EU Citizen Initiative. So, this lets EU citizens propose legislative agendas. And this proposal was very simple. Stop recording video games.
Imagine that.
Certainly does sound simple. It's that any game significantly would have to declare but they would need to remain in a functioning playable state. Now this could be through, say, single player access, maybe,
or they gotta get like, I think that if you revoke service from somebody and you take somebody's service away, you have to give them their money back. Like, you can take them off of your official servers, maybe, but like to just take their entire account back, because like again, it's just not fair. There's not really a balance of power between like the user or a what do you call it? The user and the seller. It's completely distorted.
You got the point, right?
Yeah.
Is that at this point, the implementation details are actually not required. The way this works is that if it is successful, you will have 6 months to respond. Say yes, then they will look at the resolution. And that would guide EU activity.
So it moves things in that direction.
A whole bunch of new laws. But mistake, it would actually matter. And that's because
it would get the ball rolling. It would not just like immediately, oh, we get the petition to 1 million signatures and then everything solves itself. It will take time for this to happen, but it at least begins that timeline. It starts the timeline.
Has got global. I mean, it's pretty now. Just look at Apple.
As a dev, I disagree with this. This all falls flat on intellectual property. I understand that, and I know that a lot of developers feel that way, but the way that you imagine intellectual property, I don't think is in the best interest of the customer. And I think that if you have a business transaction that's fundamentally not in the best interest of the customer, and it's predatory, problematic, or unfair in nature, then I think the government needs to come in and regulate it to make sure that the customer is being represented and treated in a fair way. So I understand that, basically, I don't agree with the current. I think intellectual property law and the amount of ways that a person can exercise intellectual property law right now I think that it's too overreaching. It's way too overreaching, and it's not fair for an average person. No, I don't agree with that at all. I think that whenever, and the problem is that just don't buy it doesn't work when every other company inside of a market does the same thing and adopts the same principle. So that's what a cartel, right? Like you have price fixing and all of these other things that are against the law. Like, just stop buying something is nice to say, sure, but you're not existing. Like, there's a lot of people that have an illusion of a free market, but most markets are actually not very free at all. Just don't buy it. And also, by the way, just don't sell it. Like, if you can say just don't buy it as like a throwaway line, then I feel like I could say just don't sell it as a throwaway line too, right? Well, if you don't like the law, then don't make a game like that. So,
A, 1 million
you're at an impasse there.
B, a minimum threshold being passed in at least 7 EU countries, which basically just exists, so, I don't know. The French all get together and want something that nobody else wants, and only one country passes them. Hey, the EU's safe. Anyway, you get the point. That is the challenge. Those are the stakes. So here's what happened next. Going through the requirements, the regional thresholds do seem to be quite manageable, right?
Yeah.
Now, the million signatures is
That's a
quite
lot.
a lot.
And it happened. And it fucking happened. That's what's crazy.
International campaign, one that's actually centered on EU citizens. Who's leading it? Well, an English-speaking YouTuber with a cult following, which
Asbang loves authoritarianism, as he was saying earlier. You see, you view it as authoritarianism. I view it as freedom from authoritarianism. Because, in my opinion, authoritarianism, what makes authoritarianism so scary is whenever it's tyrannical without the ability for the public to be able to have a recourse against it. So, for example, if you don't like the president or you don't like a representative in your country, or at least in the United States, you can vote to have that person removed. But the problem is that whenever you're having this with a company, you can't necessarily vote to have a company be removed. And when a company establishes a monopoly in a certain market, like for example Visa and MasterCard do in terms of payment processors, and then they apply their laws and their rules arbitrarily, or like the recent case with Epic and Fortnite and selling on the Apple Play Store, I think that you run into a big issue of authoritarianism with no accountability. Because authoritarianism is being exercised right now, but the people that have the authority are not accountable to the public. And that's what the real problem is. So the actual argument that I'm making here is not in favor of authoritarianism, it's actually against it. Because I want authoritarianism that is accountable to the public rather than authoritarianism that's accountable to shareholders.
Clear, but basically, it's not a huge number of people. Now, this story obviously did cut through. Loads of people covered it, us included, and the early momentum was really strong. Until it wasn't. Now, this is because some things felt
This is the end goal of capitalism, why discovering the fact. Capitalism is one of the greatest things, and it's the best social and economic system in the entire world. And every country that doesn't adopt capitalism is a awful third world shithole that you would never want to live in. And even countries like China are adopting capitalism in multiple other ways, and you are naive to think otherwise. Capitalism has brought an untold and unfathomable amount of wealth to the entire world, and it is the premise of the entire identity of Western civilization. So if you don't like capitalism, go move to a shithole without it. But you won't. Because you know capitalism is a good thing. As with anything, if you drink too much water, you'll drown. Is water bad? No, it's not.
planned feature.
Anything
in
can be
God's
overdone.
Newsletter that was tanked by that company having layoffs. Even Heineken, yes, Heineken, the beer people, wanted to include the campaign in their marketing, but only after the petition ended. There is another one, and I think I know it's the one you want to talk about. Yes, the Pirates. Okay, TLDR. Pirate Software opposed the initiative. This is back when it all kicked off. So what I'll do here is boil down what I essentially think is the best case, or like the best faith version of his argument, which is essentially that in very many cases, over-regulation often actually helps the incumbents. In this case, would help the AAA companies. The reason
this is true. That wasn't the argument I think Pirate Software was making, but it's true that oftentimes a lot of companies that are very big argue and advocate for higher degrees of regulation that have additional costs in order to pull the ladder up to make it difficult to have emerging companies make it into the market. This is very common. It's like, for example, like think of it in World of Warcraft, whenever you get to item level like 600, and then you make it to where after that, the only people that can join your raid are also item level 600. Well, that's what happens, basically.
Maximum pulse!
Companies with the resources to actually overcome the regulations. That is actually a fair enough, reasonable argument. But in practice, it's fair to say the Pirate Software videos was not really steel manning his opposition.
I am ready to put on a show!
By the eye of
really in this story, there's a few things to remember. The initial, I would say, drama, let's just say, hot public disagreement, that was what happened when, let's say, his internet sessions were in a slightly different, altogether more place. Since then, it was involved in usual drama, which I will cover shortly. I like doing drama.
It's crazy how bad that drama is. It is actually insane. I don't think that I can, like, I don't know the last time that somebody had video game drama negatively affect them that much.
Why would I need healing?
But in this case, it does actually inform how the news would play out. As for the initiative, well, by the following April, signatures were just sitting at 425k. That's not even halfway, and only 25,000 signatures have been added between April and last week. So it's basically washed down the water. Momentum from the previous summer had completely fizzled out. But then, with only weeks to go, Scott posted the end of Stop Killing Games. It's a fairly dramatic, somber title for a video, and one that is fair. It absolutely did appear to be dead. His final kill made by a very, very tired-looking man. It's clear to me that taking its toll. Scott admitted as much. One choice quote: "It's like asking someone with severe dyslexia to write a book report in War and Peace. I'm the wrong person for that job." I think that does speak to the absolutely mammoth amount of work that would actually require. But it's not all that's said. He took aim at Pirate and he explained point by point, right, how Pirate's coverage was, in his view, not at all a fair representation of the overall initiative, its goals, its specific language, and I would say from my read of it, I think Pirate almost immediately jumped straight to some worst-case outcomes of a maximalist version of the campaign. Sure. Of course, we can add to that an interpersonal language to all of this, the usual emotional reactions, hot words. But if it was just that, if it was only that, well, what happened would not really be what has happened. So let's talk about World of Warcraft. As
maximum pulse!
Last-minute miracle.
It's actually crazy that this was all because of a WoW build. This was nuts. Oh my fucking god.
I hate covering drama, but today it is actually relevant because basically
it all comes back to WoW.
I think what we're seeing with this initiative would not really have played out if these World of Warcraft didn't play out the way they did. Because basically, this is why people.
That is what happened. Is that as soon as the WoW event happened and people got really mad at him, then it got really popular to make negative content about him. Then people went back and they brought up like that Maldavius fig tree stuff, and then they brought up him doing those playthroughs and people thinking that it was inauthentic. And then they brought up what else besides that? Oh, the voice changer thing. And I think there was like a couple of other things. Yeah, Ashes of Creation, where he pulled that mob, and Ashes of Creation, like a lot of stuff, right? So it kind of, it was like a domino, basically. It was topic after topic. Yeah, exactly. People went crazy about it. As soon as people realize that you can get positive feedback on social media by being negative about a person or a topic, it creates a feedback loop that multiplies that amount of negative feedback or negative sentiment by like 50x. Because people want social media attention, and so they go after it by adopting these causes and saying these things. Whereas in a lot of cases, if this was happening in a private situation, you know, any of these dramas, like, you know, even like the big ones, would probably not be taken very seriously on an international level, but on the internet, they're taken extremely seriously because there is clout to be gained. And this is not something that's unique to pirate software. It's just it's a phenomenon that happens on the internet, and it's happened to me multiple times too. So I've seen it. I've seen it happen. I've been on the. I have farmed other people for this, and I have been farmed for this. Sometimes you're the farmer, other times you're the crop. That's the way it goes. It's a rough and tumble world out there. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. That's the way I see it.
We're excited to hop back into the fray and to pump all of this up. So here's the TLD. OnlyFans is a WoW Classic hardcore streamer content guild. That's a lot of words, but basically think of it as a reality TV show where dozens to hundreds of hours of gameplay are at stake because when a character dies...
It's like Love Island, where instead of everybody having sex, nobody does.
It is dead, just that that character has got lots of fans in Twitch chat and some sort of big name behind them in the form of a streamer. Pirate, along with other streamers, were doing a dungeon in this game. And that dungeon went poorly. People died, and